Earth received its first confirmed alien signal in 2047. The message came through on a quiet Tuesday morning at the Global Space Communications Array in Nevada, where Dr. Alan Pierce had been monitoring deep space transmissions for over a decade. "Something's coming through on all frequencies," Alan said, his fingers flying across the control panel. His assistant, Megan, rushed to his side as the computers began processing the strange pattern. The signal contained a peaceful greeting in mathematical language that humanity's best computers took only hours to decode, a request to visit Earth. The message identified the senders as the Vedric, a spacefaring civilization from a star system approximately 30 light-years away. Within days, the United Nations called an emergency session. World leaders debated how to respond, but ultimately agreed that humanity should welcome these visitors. They hastily prepared an international diplomatic committee to represent Earth. "This is the most significant moment in human history," said President Laura Wilson during a worldwide broadcast. "We will show the best of humanity to our visitors from the stars." The Vedric ship, which they called Harbinger, appeared in Earth orbit 3 months later. It was massive, nearly 2 miles long, with a gleaming silver hull that seemed to absorb rather than reflect sunlight. Smaller vessels detached from the mothership and descended to the designated landing zone in neutral Switzerland. The UN Welcoming Committee waited nervously as the alien craft touched down. When the doors opened, the Vedric emerged. They stood on 4 legs with 2 sets of arms and elongated heads. Their skin shimmered with a bluish tint that changed colors as they moved. Despite their alien appearance, their gestures seemed peaceful. Dr. Alan Pierce was part of the scientific team selected to make first contact. He stepped forward with the UN Secretary-General beside him. "Welcome to Earth," the Secretary-General said. "We extend the hand of friendship." The Vedric leader, later identified as Commander Zextal, responded through a translation device. "We thank you for your welcome. Our civilizations have much to share." For 3 days, the meetings seemed promising. The Vedric shared limited information about their culture and technology. They expressed interest in Earth's resources, particularly our water and certain minerals, offering technology in exchange. But Alan noticed troubling patterns. Several Vedric scouts were mapping Earth's military installations. Others were collecting data on population centers. When he reported his concerns, officials dismissed them as paranoia. "We can't risk insulting our first alien visitors because of unfounded suspicions," the Secretary-General told him. On the 4th day, Alan's fears proved correct. During what was supposed to be a cultural exchange, the Vedric suddenly deployed weapons no one had detected. The entire UN Welcome Committee was decimated in seconds. Across the globe, smaller Vedric ships appeared above major cities. Their message now changed completely. "Your world has been selected for processing," Commander Zextal announced on all broadcast channels. "Resistance is inadvisable. Your technology is primitive. Your defenses inadequate. Surrender your resources, and we will permit some of your population to survive as labor." Alan had been checking data in his lab when the attack began. He watched in horror on the monitors as Washington, D.C., Beijing, Moscow, and other capitals were hit simultaneously with energy weapons that turned buildings to ash. He quickly downloaded everything they had learned about Vedric technology to a portable drive and escaped as Vedric forces stormed the research facility. Other scientists weren't so lucky. As he drove away, the sky burned red with the reflection of burning cities. Humanity had received its first contact with alien life, and it had turned into mankind's worst nightmare. Alan gripped the steering wheel tightly. "This isn't over," he whispered to himself. "This is just the beginning." 5 years after the Vedric invasion, Earth had become almost unrecognizable. Major cities lay in ruins, reduced to radioactive rubble by alien weapons. Yet in the rural areas, humanity survived and fought back. Lieutenant Olivia Martinez wiped sweat from her forehead as she peered through binoculars at the Vedric patrol ship hovering above the Arizona desert. Her resistance cell had tracked this particular vessel for 3 days, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "Are we good to go?" she whispered to Kevin Wells, her chief engineer. Kevin nodded, making final adjustments to what looked like a homemade satellite dish. "Radiation pulse is charged and ready, just like we practiced." Olivia had been a junior officer in the U.S. Army when the invasion began. Now she led one of the most effective resistance groups in North America. Kevin had been a civilian engineer before the war, but his talent for adapting Vedric technology had saved countless lives. "Everyone in position," Olivia called softly into her radio. Around the rocky outcropping, 20 fighters readied their weapons, a mix of human firearms and modified alien tech. Kevin activated the pulse device. It emitted no visible light or sound, but the effect on the Vedric ship was immediate. The vessel wobbled in the air, its engines sputtering as the alien crew was exposed to radiation that was harmless to humans, but debilitating to Vedric biology, a weakness discovered by resistance scientists 2 years earlier. "Now," Olivia shouted. Her team opened fire as the ship made an emergency landing. 3 Vedric soldiers emerged, disoriented and vulnerable. The battle was brief and decisive. "Secure the vessel," Olivia ordered as the last alien fell. "Kevin, get inside and grab anything useful. We have 10 minutes before their backup arrives." Kevin worked quickly, downloading navigation data from the ship's computers, while other team members collected weapons and technology. "Olivia, you need to see this," Kevin called, excitement in his voice despite his exhaustion. On the ship's display was a star map showing not just Earth, but hundreds of inhabited systems. The Vedric were just one species among many in a complex galactic community. "There's a trading network, political alliances, an entire civilization out there," Kevin said. "And look at this classification for Earth, Resource World, Category 3. They see us as nothing but a planet to strip mine." Olivia studied the map, noting several nearby systems marked as Coalition Protected. Who's protecting them? And why not us? She wondered aloud. Back at their underground base, a repurposed mining facility, Olivia sent the data through their hidden communication network to other resistance cells worldwide. Dr. Alan Pierce, now the Resistance's chief scientist, responded within hours. "This confirms what we suspected. The Vedric violated some kind of galactic protocol by attacking us without proper assessment. There are rules to how inhabited worlds should be approached. Rules they obviously don't care about," Olivia replied during their encrypted video call. "But others might," Alan said. "This coalition could be potential allies, if we can reach them." That night, Kevin approached Olivia with a dangerous proposal. "We've been reverse engineering their technology for years. With this new navigation data, I think we could modify one of their smaller ships for human use. We could leave Earth, seek help." "That's suicide," Olivia said, but she couldn't hide her interest. "More suicidal than waiting for them to find this base," Kevin countered. "We need allies, Olivia. We need to show this coalition what's happening here." Olivia stared at the star map they'd copied from the Vedric ship. Somewhere out there were other intelligent species. Some were enemies like the Vedric, but perhaps some could be friends. "How long would it take to prepare a ship?" she asked finally. Kevin smiled. "With global cooperation, maybe a year." Olivia nodded slowly. "Then we better get started. It's time humanity took this fight beyond our world." 8 years after the invasion, humanity achieved what once seemed impossible. Hidden beneath the Antarctic ice, protected by sophisticated camouflage systems reverse-engineered from Vedric technology, the first human deep space vessel was ready for launch. They named it Defiance. The ship combined stolen Vedric engines with human ingenuity, modified to be operated by a human crew. Captain Daniel Hayes stood on the bridge, examining the final system checks. As a former commercial airline pilot who had later joined the Resistance, he was one of the few humans with both flight experience and combat training. "All systems are green," reported Susan Ellis, his second in command. We're as ready as we'll ever be. Daniel nodded, looking around at his crew. 12 scientists and soldiers representing what remained of Earth's nations. Their mission was humanity's greatest gamble. Leave the solar system, contact other species, gather intelligence, and find allies willing to help fight the Vedrik. Begin launch sequence, Daniel ordered. The Defiance rose slowly through the massive hidden doors in the ice, then accelerated upward. Vedrik orbital patrols detected them immediately, but by the time the alien ships responded, the Defiance had already engaged its faster-than-light drive, disappearing into the depths of space. Using the navigation data stolen from the Vedrik scout ship years earlier, they set course for the nearest system marked as a coalition trading post. After 3 weeks in space, they arrived at a massive space station orbiting a red dwarf star. The station was unlike anything humans had imagined. A spinning wheel miles across, with ships of dozens of different designs docking along its outer ring. As they approached, their communication system activated automatically. Unidentified vessel, state your species and purpose, came a mechanically translated voice. Daniel took a deep breath. We are humans from Earth. We seek audience with coalition representatives regarding the illegal Vedrik occupation of our world. There was a long pause before they received docking instructions. Inside the station, Daniel led a small team including diplomatic representative Nancy Kelly, a former UN negotiator. They were escorted to a circular chamber where 7 different alien species waited, some vaguely humanoid, others completely foreign to human experience. We have no record of humans achieving space travel capability, said a tall insectoid being identified as the Coalition Administrator. Explain yourselves. Nancy stepped forward. 8 years ago, the Vedrik attacked Earth without warning. They've occupied our planet, killed millions of our people, and are stripping our resources. We built this ship using their technology to seek your help. The administrator's translator conveyed surprise. The Vedrik claimed they discovered an uninhabited, resource-rich planet. They filed no sentient species assessment. They lied, Daniel said sharply. Earth has been home to human civilization for thousands of years. The room erupted in multi-species discussion. Finally, the administrator raised a limb for silence. If what you say is true, the Vedrik have violated coalition harvesting protocols. However, without confirmation from an established species, we cannot intervene militarily. We're showing you proof, Nancy said, displaying recordings of Earth's cities before and after the invasion. A purple-skinned delegate spoke. Your technological level was clearly pre-spacefaring. The coalition typically does not interfere with conflicts involving developmental species. So because we weren't advanced enough, you'll do nothing while they exterminate us? Daniel asked in disbelief. After hours of debate, the coalition offered a compromise. Humans would be granted access to the coalition knowledge database, but no military assistance would be provided. This is the most we can offer, the administrator explained. Use our knowledge to defend yourselves. If you survive, the coalition will reconsider Earth's status. Daniel wanted to argue further, but Nancy placed a hand on his arm. We take what we can get, she whispered. They returned to the Defiance with data crystals containing information that might help Earth's resistance, but without the allies they had hoped for. As they prepared for the journey home, Daniel looked out at the busy station. We came seeking help, he said quietly, but we've learned an important lesson. In this galaxy, respect comes only through strength, and we'll show them just how strong humans can be. 10 years after the Vedrik first descended from the skies, humanity's resistance was finally gaining serious momentum. What had once been scattered groups fighting for survival had transformed into a coordinated global force. Major Zachary Brown stood in the underground command center beneath the ruins of what had once been Denver. Wall-sized screens displayed real-time information from resistance cells across the planet. As global military coordinator, Zach had the impossible job of unifying Earth's defense efforts. The Vedrik are pulling forces from the European sector, he observed, pointing to movement patterns on the main display. They're reinforcing their North American mining operations. Perfect timing, said Dr. Lisa Rodriguez as she entered the room. Lisa had been a quantum physicist before the invasion. Now she led the scientific division responsible for humanity's most ambitious weapons project. "Tell me you have good news," Zach said, turning to face her. Lisa smiled tiredly, dark circles under her eyes betraying weeks of sleepless work. "The quantum entanglement weapon is operational. We've successfully tested it at short range." This was the breakthrough they have been waiting for. Using information from the Coalition database, combined with human scientific creativity, Lisa's team had developed a weapon that exploited the principle of quantum entanglement. It could create a destructive energy surge in any Vedric ship containing a specific element common in their engine cores. "Range?" Zach asked, barely containing his excitement. "Theoretically unlimited," Lisa replied. "If we can identify the quantum signature of a Vedric ship, we can target it anywhere, even in orbit." Zach immediately called an emergency meeting of the Resistance Leadership Council. Within hours, the plan was set. They would target the Vedric Orbital Command Station, the massive ship that coordinated all enemy operations on Earth. For 3 days, smaller resistance attacks distracted Vedric forces on the ground, while Lisa's team prepared the quantum weapon. Hidden sensors around the globe collected data on the command station's quantum signature. "We're ready," Lisa announced finally. The weapon looked deceptively simple. A series of crystalline rods surrounding a central core that pulsed with blue energy. Zach gave the order. "Fire." Lisa activated the device. There was no beam, no visible energy discharge, just a soft hum as the quantum connection was established. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then the monitors tracking the orbital station showed a sudden energy surge. "It's working," someone shouted. On screens throughout the command center, they watched as the massive Vedric command station began breaking apart, secondary explosions rippling across its hull. Within minutes, the station that had loomed over Earth for a decade was reduced to floating debris. Cheers erupted throughout the command center. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity had scored a decisive victory against their oppressors. But the celebration was short-lived. Their communication monitors suddenly detected a massive surge in Vedric transmissions. "They're calling for reinforcements," reported Carlos Wu, their communications expert. "The message is being sent directly to the Vedric homeworld." The council fell silent as Carlos translated the alien communication. "They're requesting a cleansing fleet. They plan to abandon the resource extraction and simply sterilize the planet's surface." As the grim news settled over them, a different alert sounded. A message was coming through on a secure channel, one established months earlier for emergency communication with a secret ally. The message was from Jeremiah Foster, a coalition scientist who had been sympathetic to Earth's plight. Against coalition policy, he had been secretly providing advanced defensive schematics to the resistance. "I've intercepted Vedric communications," his message read. "They're sending their main battle fleet to Earth. Estimated arrival: 3 months. I'm transmitting specifications for planetary defense systems. This is all I can do. Good luck, humans." Zach studied the transmitted plans, a mixture of dread and determination on his face. "They're coming to finish us off," Lisa said quietly. Zach nodded grimly. "Then we better be ready to give them a welcome they'll never forget. Gather everyone. We're turning Earth into the most heavily defended planet they've ever seen." The approaching Vedric Armada gave humanity 3 months to prepare. 3 months to execute the most ambitious engineering project in human history, Operation Lighthouse. Chief Engineer Samantha Mitchell had never imagined she would be responsible for weaponizing a moon. Yet here she stood on the surface of Io, Jupiter's volcanic satellite, overseeing the installation of the final power relay. "Power coupling is secure," reported Frank, her assistant, his voice crackling through the comm system in her helmet. "That's the last one." "Good," Samantha replied, looking across the sulfur plains where thousands of workers had spent the last 2 months transforming the moon into humanity's last hope. Begin final system check. The plan had seemed impossible when first proposed. Using coalition technology provided by Jeremiah Foster, combined with knowledge from Earth's own scientists, they would convert Io's natural volcanic energy into a directed weapon. If successful, it would have enough power to destroy the entire Vedric fleet in a single blast. Samantha returned to the control bunker buried deep beneath Io's surface. The facility buzzed with activity as engineers and technicians performed final checks on the massive energy weapon. "Status report," she demanded, removing her helmet. "All systems nominal," said Alina, the lead systems operator. "Energy reserves at 94% and climbing. We'll be at full capacity well before the Vedric arrive." From Earth, Major Zachary Brown coordinated global defense preparations. Every remaining military unit, every resistance cell, prepared for what might be humanity's final stand if Operation Lighthouse failed. "We're receiving confirmation from the Jupiter outpost," his communications officer reported. "Lighthouse is operational and ready for firing sequence." Zach nodded. Now we wait. The waiting ended sooner than expected. Advanced scouts detected the Vedric fleet entering the solar system just 73 days after their initial message. The armada was massive, over 300 ships, including a Planet Killer-class vessel capable of rendering Earth's surface uninhabitable. "They're bypassing our outer system defenses," reported Carlos from the monitoring station. "Heading straight for Earth. Arrival in 6 hours." Zach opened a secure channel to Io. "Samantha, it's time. Are you ready?" On Io, Samantha took a deep breath as she looked at the activation controls. "Lighthouse is primed and ready, awaiting your command." For the next 5 hours, humans across the solar system watched as the Vedric fleet approached Earth. Many said prayers or goodbyes, uncertain if Lighthouse would work or if humanity's last defense would fail. When the Vedric fleet entered standard orbit around Earth, their commander broadcast a message to the planet below. "Humans of Earth, your resistance has been noted. As punishment, we will not simply harvest your resources, we will eliminate your species entirely. Prepare for extinction." In response, Zach sent a simple message of his own. "Look to Jupiter." On Io, Samantha received the command and initiated the firing sequence. The moon's surface began to glow as volcanic energy flowed through the constructed channels, amplified by the technology they had built. "Energy output at maximum," Elena reported, her voice tight with tension. "Firing in 3, 2, 1. A beam of concentrated energy, blindingly bright, erupted from Io's surface. It crossed the vast distance between Jupiter and Earth in seconds. When it reached the Vedric fleet, the effect was instantaneous and devastating. Ships exploded in silence against the backdrop of Earth. The energy beam cut through the armada like a hot knife through butter, destroying every vessel in its path. The massive Planet Killer, targeted specifically, was the first to go, breaking apart in a spectacular explosion visible from Earth's surface. In less than 20 seconds, the entire Vedric fleet, their ultimate weapon against humanity, was reduced to floating debris. Operation Lighthouse had succeeded beyond their wildest hopes. Samantha slumped in her chair, exhausted but triumphant. "Transmission successful," she reported. "Target eliminated." Zach immediately ordered a new message broadcast on all frequencies, in all languages known to the Coalition. "To all spacefaring civilizations, what you just witnessed was a warning shot. Earth is no longer defenseless. We seek peace, but we are prepared for war. Choose wisely." 15 years after the Vedric first arrived on Earth, humanity had transformed from victims to a rising power. The rebuilding efforts were visible everywhere. New cities rising from ruins, fields once barren with alien mining operations now green with crops, and orbital stations where Earth's growing fleet of starships docked. Admiral Gregory Wilson stood on the observation deck of Earth's largest orbital station, watching his crews prepare the newest addition to the Earth Defense Fleet. The ship, named Vanguard, incorporated technology that would have seemed magical before the invasion. "Impressive, isn't it?" asked a voice behind him. Gregory turned to see Ambassador Carol Parker approaching. Formerly a high school history teacher, Carol had shown remarkable diplomatic skill during the crisis. Now she represented humanity in the complex political landscape of the coalition. "How was your trip to coalition headquarters?" Gregory asked. Carol's expression was determined. "About as expected. They're still trying to treat us like newcomers who should be grateful for a seat at the table." After the destruction of the Vedric fleet, the coalition had finally acknowledged humanity as a spacefaring species worthy of recognition. But acknowledgement was not the same as respect. For 5 years, Earth had been fighting for full membership and reparations for the Vedric invasion. "The council session begins tomorrow," Carol continued. "This time, we're not asking politely." The next day, Carol stood before the Coalition Council, representatives of 27 different species, most of whom had ignored Earth's suffering for years. "The Coalition failed in its self-proclaimed duty to protect developing worlds," Carol stated firmly. "Earth demands full membership status and reparations for damages caused by the Vedric invasion." The Galithian representative, a tall being with crystalline features, responded dismissively. "Humans achieve spaceflight through theft of Vedric technology. Your species is still too primitive for full membership." Carol had anticipated this argument. She nodded to her assistant, who activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber. "These are technologies Earth has developed since the invasion," Carol explained as images appeared. "FTL communication systems more efficient than Coalition standard, gravity manipulation devices, energy weapons that didn't rely on rare materials. We advanced more in 15 years than many species do in a century," Carol continued. "Not because we're inherently superior, but because we had to adapt to survive." The council chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. Under pressure, humans had proven dangerously innovative. The Orvian counselor, who had been quietly supportive of Earth in previous sessions, spoke up. "The evidence suggests that humanity's potential was underestimated. Perhaps their petition deserves reconsideration." After hours of debate, the Coalition Council called for a recess to discuss Earth's petition privately. When they returned, the mood had shifted noticeably. "The Council acknowledges that errors were made regarding Earth's classification," the Council President announced. "We propose the Treaty of Sol, granting Earth full membership and establishing reparation payments from what remains of the Vedric government." Carol maintained her professional demeanor, but inside she was celebrating. This was everything they had fought for. The treaty was signed 3 days later. As part of the agreement, Earth established a clear warning beacon at the edge of the solar system. Approach with peaceful intent only. When Carol returned to Earth, the news was met with celebrations. In what had once been Central Park in New York, now rebuilt and flourishing, Gregory found Carol watching the fireworks display. "You did it," he said, joining her on a bench. Carol shook her head. "We all did it. Every human who fought, who built, who refused to give up." Gregory looked up at the night sky, where stars now represented possibility rather than threat. "Do you think they understand what they've done? By forcing us to become stronger?" "Some do," Carol replied. "The smarter ones are already seeking alliances with us. The others," she shrugged, "they'll learn." Above them, Earth's defense satellites quietly maintained their vigil, a reminder to the galaxy that humanity was now a power to be reckoned with. 20 years after the invasion that nearly destroyed humanity, Earth had become a respected galactic power. Human colonies thrived on 7 worlds across 3 star systems. Earth ships traveled regular trade routes, and human representatives sat on the Coalition's Leadership Council. Commander Eva Santos stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel Second Chance, gazing at the holographic display of the uncharted system they were surveying. As the leader of Earth's Deep Space Exploration Initiative, Eva had personally mapped dozens of new star systems. "Commander, I think you need to see this," called Ryan, her science officer. His voice contained an unusual note of excitement. Eva joined him at the sensor station. What have you found? We detected unusual energy readings from the fourth planet, Ryan explained. Standard procedure was to scan for artificial structures, and he paused, looking up at her with wide eyes. We found a city. Ancient, buried under millennia of dust, but definitely not natural formation. Within hours, Eva led a team to the planet's surface. What they discovered left them speechless. The ruins were unmistakably built by human hands, or at least, beings remarkably similar to humans. The architecture, the proportions of doorways and furniture, even writing carved into stone walls all pointed to one impossible conclusion. These ruins are at least 50,000 years old, said Linda, their archaeologist, examining her scanner readings. But they're human. There's no other explanation. Eva touched a wall carving showing figures that could have walked down any street on Earth. How is this possible? Humans evolved on Earth. Actually, Ryan said slowly, we've always assumed that. But what if it was the other way around? The team worked for days, carefully documenting everything. They found evidence of advanced technology far beyond what Earth had achieved even now. More importantly, they discovered a sealed chamber containing data storage devices that still functioned after 50 millennia. When they decoded the information, the truth was more shocking than anyone had imagined. The civilization hadn't been destroyed by natural disaster or war. They had been systematically attacked and reduced to a pre-technological state by another species, a species that wanted to keep humans primitive and contained. They feared what humans might become, Eva said, reading the ancient warning. So they bombed them back to the Stone Age and relocated survivors to Earth. When Eva transmitted their findings to Earth, the response was immediate. President William Harris called an emergency session of Earth's Global Council. This changes everything we thought we knew about our history, he told the assembled leaders. We didn't rise from nothing. We were deliberately kept down. The coalition representatives were strangely quiet when presented with this evidence. Some ancient species seemed unsurprised, suggesting they had known parts of this history all along. Earth's response was decisive. A massive transmission was prepared and broadcast to every corner of the galaxy, using the communication network humans had improved beyond its original design. Humanity remembers its history, the message began. We have reclaimed our birthright among the stars. We seek friendship with all peaceful species, but we will never again be victims. Earth stands ready for peace or war. The choice is yours. In the months that followed, diplomatic relations shifted. Former enemies approached with new respect. Trading partnerships expanded, and Earth continued its technological advancement at a pace that made some coalition members nervous. Eva stood with President Harris at the opening of the Museum of Human Origins, where artifacts from the ancient human homeworld were displayed. Do you think they're still out there? Harris asked quietly. The ones who tried to keep us down. Eva looked up at the night sky visible through the museum's transparent dome. Probably. But they should be afraid now. The primitive species they tried to contain now has the most powerful fleet in the quadrant. Harris nodded. And we're just getting started. Across the galaxy, other civilizations watched Earth's rapid expansion with a mixture of admiration and concern. The question on everyone's mind: were humans the galaxy's next dominant power? And if so, would they be benevolent guardians or conquerors? The answer remained to be written in the stars.